we have discussed about uh, Schrodinger equation. We have discussed about how the boundary condition give rise to uh, different wave functions that lead to the quantization, that lead to the electron being captured in certain location. They have higher probability in the potential well, right? So basically the conclusion we draw from the Schrodinger equation is that first of all, the wave nature of electron can be described by the Schrodinger equation, and there is a quantization of energy levels, right? So that means electron cannot occupy any arbitrary energy, but it has to be decided by the potential they are in, right? Now, because if you look at typical crystal, if you look at typical crystal, then these atoms are basically arranged in periodic fashion, right? And that also we have discussed, right? So two tools we have discussed. One, crystal structure, and second, Schrodinger equation, right? So with these two tools, we can move ahead to understanding how the band structure, band gap, those electronic band properties arise in a semiconductor, right? So generally, semiconductor is available as wafers, right? We call it wafers, right? So for example, this is a picture for silicon. So usually silicon is found as 111 silicon or 100, right? So these are the directions of the surface normal. So this is, let's say, wafer. This is a normal to surface, right? So this is the direction. So direction will be 100, or in case of 111, direction will be 111, right? Can you recall the notation? We have this angular bracket for direction, and we have this parenthesis for plane, right? Now, how, if you are given a piece of wafer, how will you differentiate whether it is 111 or 100? Of course, you can go to the lab and do the X-ray measurement, and that will tell you how the plane distance across the plane, right? You have done this thing in physics, and lambda is equal to 2d sine theta, right? So you can calculate this d and say this is this plane, right? But we don't want to take every sample and go to the lab, right? So there is a mechanism for that. Generally, some directions are identified, and along which this wafer actually cleaves easily, right? So for example, this is 111, right? So this direction is actually 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, right? 0, 1, 1, 1, right? Or you can just blank. Exactly, it is bar 1. Hey? Now, what is bar 1? Can somebody recall what is bar 1? See, if you have this cube here, right? And let's say this is x-axis, right? So this plane will be 100, right? And it is pointing in, the normal is pointing in plus x direction, right? Then bar 1 will be plane here, right? And it's pointing in minus x direction, right? So as far as cubic cell are concerned, they are identical. only the angle between them is 180 degree, right? So this is 0, 1, bar 1. So all these primary planes are usually 0, 1, bar 1. And how do you know whether they are same? Because they have to be. Can you calculate the angle between 1, 1, 1 and 0, 1, bar 1? If you take the dot product, what will you get? 0, right? 0 multiplied by 1, 0. 1 into 1 is 1. 1 into minus 1 is minus 1, right? So cosine 0 is 90, right? So they are at 90 degree. Similarly, you can do something for 1, 0, 0. Again, if you do 0, 1, bar 1, right? So of course 1 and 0 and then 0 and 1, 0 and minus 1, right? So it will also be 0. So that means these angles are at 90 degrees. So these planes are perpendicular to each other, right? So these are called primary flat. Then just to distinguish, we also cleave it according along secondary flat. So for 111, we just 111 p type, right? We only have primary flat. For 111 n type, we have two flats. Primary flat, which is usually longer, and secondary flat is usually shorter, and angle is 45 degree, right? So that also you can calculate. In which case the angle will be 45. Cosine of this thing should be 1 by root 2, right? So its magnitude will be 1 by root 2. And you can easily calculate the angle across plane, right? Maybe I can give you a reference where all the angles are listed. And similarly, in case of 100, for n type, primary flat and secondary flat, they are opposite to each other, right? 180 degree. And for p type, primary flat and secondary flat are at 90 degree, right? So this is just for distinguishing the wafer, that which wafer is what type of doping is there. So early days it was not, it was done manually, so it was required, right? Now this periodic arrangement actually give rise to the band structure, and in semiconductors and insulators we also observe band gap, right? Okay, should we proceed to the next slide? Okay, now electrons in the crystal. If you consider electron in a crystal and there is periodic placement of atoms or positive charge nucleus, right, with protons and neutrons. Neutrons are neutral.
So can you please explain the secondary flat part again, that in the previous slide?
Okay. Now what do you want to ask in secondary flat? Flat.
So what do you mean by secondary flat?
No, it's like primary flat only. Primary flat is a direction along which it can cleave easily, right? Secondary flat is also direction along which it can cleave easily. So it is just to distinguish. So for example, right? Okay, I will give you more insight. If you consider, let's say, this 100 wafer, right? So this 100 wafer, these primary flats are at 90 degree, right? So it will easy to cleave along this direction, right? Along this 011. This could be, if this is 100, then all 010 and 001, they will also be perpendicular to it, right? So it can cleave along those directions. So usually, you will get 4 pieces broken at 90 degree, right? In case of 11, usually they will break at 60 degree. Why? Because the angle between 0, 1, bar 1, 1, 0, bar 1, can you calculate the angle between them? So magnitude will be root 2, and this 0, this is 0, this is 1, right? So this will be 1 by root 2 times root 2, 1 by 2. So cosine theta is 1 by 2, means angle is 60 degree, right? So they will cleave along this 60 degree direction. So basically these flats are chosen along which crystal breaks easily. If you try to break it along other direction, it will not be smooth. But cleavage according to the plane or along the plane will be very smooth. right? So if you break a crystal, then if you break it along a crystal direction, it will be smooth, right? And if you do it otherwise, it will give basically a lot of defects there. It will not be uniform cleavage, right? Do you want to ask anything else?
So is it along the
Sir.
plane or along the direction?
Okay, it is along the plane basically. Direction is normal to the plane. So you see, this is 111 surface. So this cleavage is along the plane, right? So we are cleaving it whole thing, right? And then direction is normal to this plane. So
Okay.
Sir,
cleavage
what do
passes along the plane. For example, this is 011. So the direction will be this. 011 bar 1 direction will be perpendicular. Okay.
If it's a plane, then sir, if it's a plane, then we can represent it by normal brackets. No, so you are using triangular brackets over there.
Oh, triangular I'm using for direction. So basically, direction is basically you basically understand based on my notation. If I use a angular bracket, it means direction. If I use parenthesis, it means plane. So when we calculate the angle, we can calculate angle between the planes also, but it is easier to calculate with the direction, because see, direction are perpendicular to the plane, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, what do these diagrams actually represent?
No, this is basically is a cartoon. This cartoon says that to distinguish between different wafers, whether it's 100 or 111, or what is a doping, you can look at the wafer and say this is this type of crystal and this particular doping, so that you don't have to remember it. In case, see, this was basically done to address the working means people working in the fab. They have to transfer these wafers, right? Carry these wafers, and then if you somehow mix them up, so how will you know which wafer is which? Because when you look at the wafer, they all look same, right? They're very smooth. They look same. You can, by just naked eyes, you cannot differentiate. This particular wafer is cleaved along which direction. So these cuts are basically made just to distinguish. So if I give you a
Okay, sir.
piece of wafer and they have different cuts, and this convention we all are familiar with, then we can say, okay, this is this particular wafer and this particular doping. Just a convention basically. But convention is chosen based on the planes which easily cleave.
Okay, sir.
Correct? Okay.
Sir, what does that 45-degree represent?
Okay, 45 degrees basically angle, right? So if you take, so 45 degree actually comes from 1 by root 2, right? So let's say if this is, you can consider, let's say 0, 1, 1, right? And then I consider another, let's say 0, 0, 1. What is the angle between these two directions or these two planes?
That is 45 degree.
45 degree, right? So 45 degrees is the angle between two planes.
But sir, you just mentioned that the angle between the two planes, in case of 111, it is 60 degree. Like
Okay.
011 bar and
No,
1.
it's not. You got it a little off. See, you have 0, 1 bar 1, right? And then you have 0, 1, 0 bar 1, right? These two angles, if you see, they are kind of similar to each other, right? It's just like you have X, Y, Z, right? Similarly, this 1 bar 1 is also rotating like this, right? So this family of these planes, right? They will have angle between them 60 degree. And all these planes are identical. So it is not that it will only cleave along 0, 1, bar 1. It can also cleave along 0, 1, 1, right? Or bar 1, 0, 1, right? So it can cleave along a whole family basically.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now we have electrons moving in this crystal. Right? Now, if you look from the point of view of an electron which is moving through the crystal, it is encountering different at different positions. These positive charge nucleus, right? And these positions are uniformly spaced with translation vector of the crystal capital R. So you can always say that now this R can be three-dimensional, but just to build the case and to understand the concept, we will assume a 1D crystal, right? But this capital I is basically a translation vector of the crystal, so it's a 3D, right? So R is equal to N times A plus M times B plus L times C, right? Where A, B, and C are the lattice vectors, right? So overall crystal can be some N, M, and L. These are the integers. So R is a translation vector, right? So you go translation from R to 2R to 3R, you will always get same set of potential, right? So this electron moving in the crystal, it will encounter a periodic potential, right? Arising from the Bravais lattice. Bravais lattice is nothing but it's a periodic lattice, right? Now, of course, if you look at the crystal at room temperature, right? Now, at room temperature, these atoms will be vibrating, right? So that's called thermal vibration. So their position will not be fixed, right? But they will always oscillate around their equilibrium position, right? So basically, what I want to say that this is basically ideal crystal, right? It's ideal crystal. You can say at 0 Kelvin, right? Ideal crystal at 0 Kelvin, right? So there will be some variation at as temperature changes, and we are assuming there are no defects, no impurities here, which are actually there in real crystal, right? So this calculation that we are going to do is basically for ideal crystal, right? Then whatever non-idealities are there, we will treat them separately, right? Now, can you recall what is the lattice constant of silicon? What is the lattice constant of silicon? It's around 5.43 angstrom. Very good. Eh? So you can say that this capital R is of the order of 5.43 angstrom. Now, you are given one problem in your tutorial 2. You have to calculate what is the de Broglie wavelength of electron, right? And different energies are given. Let's say energy is few electron volt or 100 electron volt. What will be the wavelength? So if energy increases, the wavelength will decrease, right? So we can assume that de Broglie wavelength is of the order of angstrom. How much are it? Sarthak, you want to ask a question? Please go ahead. Sarthak Goyal, your hand is raised. It's gone, eh? Okay. Sound अच्छा है. Anyway, I don't know. I'm hearing some strange sound. I hope you are not hearing it.
We
So-
are also hearing it.
You are also hearing, but I muted everybody. How come scientist sound is coming?
But it's okay, sir. It's okay. Not a big issue.
ठीक है. So again, I go down. So de Broglie wavelength of the electron you can is around angstrom, order of angstrom, and that is one of the reason why these electron microscopes are used for high resolution microscopy, right? So if you compare that wavelength of electron is order of angstrom, and if you compare it this with optical microscopy, what is the wavelength of visible light?
Order of 10 power minus 7.
Okay, so it's 3 orders of magnitude, right? So obviously the resolution of this de Broglie, this electron microscope will be much better, right? Got the source. There was one mobile, some alarm was set there. Okay. Okay, so let's proceed now. Now for this periodic crystal, we can recall the Schrodinger equation, right? Now in crystal, there are many electrons are there, right? So if you consider, let's say there are a lot of electrons, and these electrons will interact with each other, correct? And when they are interacting, then you have to also consider the potential change due to these electrons, right? So what we will do, we will again do further simplification, and we will assume there is only single electron there, right? We will assume that there is only single electron, right? It's an independent electron moving through the crystal, and it is encountering this periodic potential. So now you can write H psi is equal to E psi, right? And where H is the operator, kinetic energy plus potential energy, right? And kinetic energy is minus H bar square by 2m, and potential is UR, right? Where U is a periodic potential with periodicity capital R. Okay. Now, if you visualize, try to visualize the electron in the crystal. Electron is coming from, let's say, this direction, right? So it will move in forward direction, and electron can move in backward direction also, right? Now somebody may ask, if there is one electron, it can either move forward or it can move backward, right? So when we look at the electron from the Schrodinger equation perspective, or we consider its wave nature, then this electron is not actually kind of localized quantity, right? So it's a wave function basically, right? And that wave function can be moving in one direction or two direction, right? So idea is that if there is a wave function or the solution to Schrodinger equation where you get two functions, one wave moving in plus x direction, one wave moving in minus x direction, right? Then when these two waves are interacting, right? So what we will get actually is standing wave, right? So in a standing wave, what is the characteristic of a standing wave? That energy is not actually transferred, but they are just oscillating at the same region of space. And due to this periodic potential, these standing wave basically will oscillate. Now, while trying to solve the Schrodinger equation, we can consider a few more things. That because this is very long crystal, right? For example, if you consider a piece of semiconductor in your hand, which is only, let's say, 2 centimeter, right? How many unit cells will be there? 2 divided by some 5 angstrom. So that will be around 10 raised to power 8, right? Centimeter 10 to minus 2, angstrom 10 to minus 10, right? So 10 to power 8, right? It's a very large number. So just about a small piece, you have 10 raised to power 8 unit cells there, right? So you can consider it's very long, right? So the 2 centimeter piece of semiconductor is actually very long. And because we are assuming ideal crystal, so these unit cells are basically indistinguishable, right? They are identical. So if the potential is identical there, right? So the solution should also be identical, right? That means wave function at this point, they should be same, right? So if you consider one period only, right? So this wave function should repeat basically, right? So there are two things here, right? One is the length of the crystal, right? One is the length of the crystal, and another is these local potentials, right? So Bloch gave a very nice theorem. He said that overall wave function of the electron can be written as a plane wave, because this crystal is very long. So you can write e to the power iota kr multiplied by the periodic potential, right? And this UR is periodic width. UR is equal to U of R plus capital R, right? So solution can be written as a product of plane wave and a periodic function UR. Okay. So this is a Bloch theorem. So your psi R is written as e to the power iota kr. These k and r are vector, right? So k dot r times UR, right? Now there are subscript n and k, which will be clear later. But you can understand these are basically, for example, if you recall, we solved for quantum well, right? Then we found state 1, 2, 3. So this n basically refer to the state, and k is the wave vector, corresponding wave vector, right? So for corresponding energy and the corresponding wave vector, you have particular wave function, right? Now this potential repeat every r. The magnitude of the wave function should also repeat every r. Whatever the phase can be different, right? So e to the power iota k dot r handle the crystal periodicity, right? So again you can see if your crystal is having 10 raised to power 8 unit cells, right? So that will tell that this k spacing will be very small, right? Because over n unit cell, right? So it will become nk, right? And that should be 1 basically, right? And then atomic part, the potential due to nucleus atom is handled by this periodic function UR. Then if you write the wave function at R plus capital R, so you can write here psi R plus capital R. You substitute in first equation, it becomes e to the power iota a R plus capital R times U R plus capital R. Now UR plus capital R is UR, and this is e to the power iota kr times e to the power iota k capital R, right? So this is again psi, so you can write e to the power iota k capital R times psi r, right? So the magnitude is same, psi r and r plus r, and only the phase difference is e to the power iota k r, right? So is that okay? Let's move forward. So that means this is the phase difference between the adjacent unit cells, right? So if you consider this here, right? This here, right? So the phase here and the phase here, right? So this is phase 1, this is phase 2. So delta phi, this will be delta phi, right? Only this iota kr. Right? Now, will this phase difference create any difference in the probability of finding electron? No, because psi star psi gives you the probability of finding electron. So when you write psi star psi, e to the power iota kr will cancel, because for psi star it will become e to the power minus iota kr, right? So you will simply have magnitude will basically be same. So that means the probability of finding electron is identical, right? So as you move from small r to r plus n times capital R, the probability of finding electron will be same, and probability of finding electron in adjacent unit cell will be same. Now, if you assume a large number of unit cell, so I give you an example of, let's say, 2 centimeter, n is 10 to the power 8. So because e to the power iota k times capital NR. Now capital NR is the length of the crystal. Length of crystal, right? This is 1. So that means k times capital NR should be 2 pi, right? So your k will be 2 pi by NR, right? Now if n is very large, 2 pi by n will be very small, right? So that means this k spacing is actually very small. That means ideally you can basically, electron can take any momentum they want, right? They can have any wave vector, right? So k is also 2 pi by lambda. That means they can have any wavelength, right? So there is no restriction. Now only restriction that will come will be on energy, right? So for wave vector there will be no restriction. Now this is a wave vector for electron, right? So wave vector for electron will have no restriction. Okay. Now there is simplified model called Cronin-Penney model, right? Now if you look at the typical potential due to these atoms or these positive charge nucleus, we can write what is the expression for potential energy due to positive charge nucleus. Potential energy is 1 over 4 pi epsilon. Now this epsilon is dielectric constant. Now epsilon for if you take an individual atom, this epsilon will basically be epsilon naught, right? But in crystal, you may have to take this dielectric constant of the crystal also into account, because these atoms do contribute to the dielectric constant, right? Now this will be Q by Now Q is a charge, so it can be Q, or if there are more atoms, you can have, let's say, capital Q. There will not be a single charge only. Q by R, Q by R, right? Now, because this is proportional to 1 by R, what will happen to the potential? At zero distance, right, or very near this positive charge nucleus, this potential energy will go to infinity, right? Now, because it is positive charge here, right, and electron has negative charge, so this is a potential. So potential energy will be Q times multiplied by the charge of electron, right? So this will be charge of nucleus times minus E, right, by R. So this will actually go to minus infinity. So this is the energy for potential energy for electron, right? So what you can see here. So this is a real crystal, right? Now, but that is difficult to solve, right? And people have solved for hydrogen atom, but that will not. That will take a lot of time to solve, right? So we basically, what we do to solve it for periodic potential, we approximate it, right? This is called abstraction. So what we do, we truncate it somewhere, right? Because if you see for hydrogen atom also, although it goes to minus infinity, but what is the energy for first electron, for first energy level? That is around minus 13.6 electron volt, right? So you can easily truncate it somewhere at finite value, because minus 13 is not infinite, right? So similarly, we can always truncate it somewhere. So let's say this, there are two regions here. Near the nucleus, there is a potential well, and then outside it goes away from the nucleus. It increases and be somewhere, right? Now this whole thing is inside a crystal, right? So this is basically the at the end of the crystal, or at the contact. This is the basically work function, right? So inside the crystal, these electrons will see a periodic potential. So basically, the idea is that the periodic potential due to atoms can be approximated by a rectangular potential, where there is a quantum well here and there is a barrier here, right? It's a barrier, right? So of course, there is a high probability that electron will be confined here, right? So only the electrons which are at the top of this quantum well. So that means these are called valence electrons, right? Valence electrons, right? Which have low energy here, right? So they will be confined. So they will not participate in moving through the crystal. On the electrons which are here, right? And they are called conduction electron, right? These are also called actually core electrons, right? And these conduction electrons are actually the valence band electrons, right? So for example, if you have silicon, right? Silicon is 2, 8, and 4, right? So these this is shell 1, shell 2, shell 3, right? So these 4 electron in shell 3, they are basically the valence electron, right? And they will actually take part in the movement through the crystal, right? So these electrons, they may be conduction electron which are in the valence band. So these 4 electrons will be fixed to the particular atom. The atoms which are in the valence Somebody has a question? Is there any question? Okay, somebody has a question. What do you understand by primary and secondary flats? Oh, this is long time back. I don't hear anything strange. Okay. Okay. So what we can say that electrons are basically inside this periodic potential, which is approximated to be a rectangular wave, so that we can solve the Schrodinger wave equation, right? Now, if we recall the Schrodinger wave equation, and we can say that okay, so this is again your I can magnify tune this one. Okay, if you see here, this is your periodic potential. So this you can say this period is, let's say, A plus B, right? Right here. So if you see here, this H. So let's say this is x equal to 0, right? And the length of the well is A. So this is x equal to A. Length of the barrier is B. So the periodicity is actually A plus B, right? So there are two regions here. Region between 0 and A, we call it region 1. Region between 0 and minus B, we call region 2, right? And then electron energy is basically can be anywhere between around u naught, less than, or can be more than. For timing, let's consider that. So if you solve the Schrodinger equation, the solution is e to the power iota kx plus minus iota kx, where k is root 2 me by h bar square, right? And if there is a potential u there, then you can write e minus u, right? So for the quantum well, we are assuming that potential here is 0, right? Now you may say that actually in the atom or in the crystal, electrons are bound because their energies are 0, right? So they cannot have energy more than 0, right? But this is actually a relative description. So we can assume that electron is bound, and we are shifting the reference basically, right? So in either case, it will give us the picture closer to the reality, right? So just for calculation, we are assumed is to be 0, but nothing stops you from choosing it minus 20 or minus 30, something like that, and this u naught. But this is basically only relative displacement, right? So of course, for 3-dimensional crystal calculation, we have to take care of energies, actual energies. But here is basically it's a qualitative picture where we are approximating this crystal potential by a periodic function, right? So where we are assuming that at the bottom of the quantum well, energy is 0 and barrier is u naught, right? So again, this k, of course, for first region we call it alpha between 0 and A. For second region we call it beta, right? And then wave function can also be written as because it's a combination of e to the power plus minus iota kx, so that can be written as a cos kx plus b cos kx, right? So it is a sine alpha x plus b cos alpha x. It's a combination of sine and cos, right? Similarly, for second region between 0 and minus b, we can write wave function as another coefficient c times sine beta x plus d times cos beta x. So only difference between alpha and beta is this potential u naught. Then because there is a property of wave function that wave function is continuous and the derivative of wave function is continuous, right? So we are encountering two boundaries here. One is at x equal to 0 and another is at x equal to a, right? So the wave function, the magnitude of the wave function at x equal to a and at x equal to minus b, they should be same, right? So wave function at x equal to a, x equal to 0. So that means it will be, the sign will be 0, so only b, right? So b should be equal to d, right? So first condition will give you b is equal to d, right? Because x is 0, so it is b and this is d, right? So b is equal to d. And the derivative of this thing, it will become minus alpha times b sine beta x. So it will be 0. It will be alpha times a cos alpha x. So it will be alpha a. And here it will be beta c, right? Times cos beta x, right? So this will be 1. So alpha is equal to beta c, right? So when we take the derivative, this power of e to the power iota kx or coefficient of sine kx, cos kx, they come out basically. So this is the boundary condition at x equal to 0. Similarly, at x equal to a, you can write a sine alpha x plus b cos alpha x, right? Now this should be same as, magnitude should be same as at x equal to minus b. So this basically becomes at minus b, it is sine of minus bx, right? So sine of minus theta is minus sine theta. So you can write minus c times sine beta b. And cosine of minus b will be cosine of b. So it is d times cosine beta b. Okay. And this is e to the power iota k. This is basically the factor e to the power iota kr, right? E to the power iota kr, right? So this is basically multiplied. So this is basically taking care of the phase. This is taking care of the phase, right? So as far as your wave function is concerned, you can get basically these two equations for x equal to 0 boundary and two equations for x equal to a and x equal to minus b. Okay. So next
Excuse me,
class
sir.
we will solve the equation.
Sir,
Okay.
we have another class.
Yeah. So next class we will solve the equation and we will continue from here. Thank you very much. So I'm stopping the class, and if you have any question, you can ask me.
Sir, how can we